everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division for the Community Cup. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. And before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also visit golfclashtommy.com for more Golf Clash related content. You can become a subscriber to Patreon, and on Patreon you will get text guides for tournament play, tour play, and also you can have training sessions with me directly. Link to patreon.com/golfclashtommy is in the description down below. This is going to be a tournament with low scores, and in this playthrough you will see some older recordings, but the most important thing here is to make sure to take a look at the way that I'm playing, because we're gonna have a lot of opportunities, short par 4s, very simple par 3s, and also some nice par 5s bundled in together as well. Make sure that you comment with what you think will be the score to win in this tournament. I personally believe we're gonna see people needing to play at least -30 to win in the weekend round. In the end, we're gonna go to hole number 1 now, so hopefully you're gonna enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and here we go, hole number 1. So, this par 3 is going to be very easy from second and third tee. But we're playing this one from front tee, and that's going to be a little bit more tricky. So in this scenario, you're going to see me playing with 1.5 bar topspin and aiming directly at the hole in complete max distance. And as you can see here, the fairway is very, very bumpy. And if you rewind just a little bit, you saw me going back and forth by the rough bump there on the top left. You can play the rough bump from front tee, but you're going to have to require to play with a club that gives you a decent level, seeing like a sniper level 5, level 6, or maybe a higher level viper like level 8 plus, and also being able to play with a side spin 3 ball to kick the ball in towards the right, because in the end there is a funnel there on that side, but it is going to be tough to reach there if you do have lower level clubs and lower level balls. Also, you know, if you hit a great right, that could be danger with lower level accuracy clubs. So I wanted to at least mention that, but to take a safe route with a very elevated hole, like with a maximum distance, 30% over adjustment, it's better to bounce on the fairway up towards the pin and then take it for what it is. And it's going to be mostly birdies, but obviously there's going to be some people making hole-in-ones as well. So let's take a look at hole number 2 here, and it's a very short par 4, and we're gonna go for green. So there's 2 ways to attack this hole in my opinion. If we do have a crosswind or a tailwind here, crosswind or a headwind here, we play with the big topper, and we're using max topspin, and we're using then as much left spin that we can together with that. And we're going to aim for going in between the trees. There is a pretty big gap there that we can play for. So the plan here is to bounce on the fairway, and then through the trees into the rough, and then roll out on the fairway down below, and then have a very simple wedge making an eagle from distance. This is going to be a must eagle to get if you're going to have something to do. So this is basically a par 4 played like a par 3. So we bounce into the rough, we roll out on the fairway, and going to sit there with a very nice and easy wedge. No elevation for the shot whatsoever, and as long as we're talking about it, we're gonna take the video once again, because if we do have a straight tailwind here, we could be better off by playing with a power 1 ball and the horizon instead. This because to make sure that we are not going in between clubs and having to overpower our driver. So your setup should be big topper, horizon, both of them gives you a lot of topspin, and that's the only thing that we're thinking about. If you play with a driver like the big topper, you use the Marlin ball, or you use as most a navigator or a quasar, not power 2, not power 3, because that's going to move your minimum distance line further up obviously, and that's going to make you having a hard time finding a position. But if you do have a tailwind, once again, you play with a wood club named the horizon, and then you play with as minimum power 1 ball, because we need more distance with our wood club. So let's take a look at hole number 3 here, and we are going to use a big topper even if we have it in level 1. So if you just have it unlocked, you use as much topspin possible, and then also using 1 bar of side spin to the right, aiming for the center of the fairway on the other side. We do want to gain as much distance possible without having to overpower, so therefore a big topper here is absolutely perfect. We adjust for a maximum distance with no over or under adjustment, and then try to hit perfect. Hitting great left or great right will still be fine, and you can see here now that the ball comes over to the fairway and gonna roll a pretty far down on the fairway there for us. If you do have an extra mile or a Thor Sam or an Apocalypse like in a decent level, you can use a power 2 or a power 3 ball and use overpower and clear the rough directly, and then you don't have to bounce over. But I personally think the big topper version is going to be a nice one to get, as then we all can play in a nice way without having to use overpower. Second shot, I used the Guardian, and here as well the same type of thing. Doesn't matter what level you have the Guardian in. So if you have it in level 1, use the Guardian and obviously make sure that you hit perfect, because now with a great right we're coming way too much to the right, so we do need to get the ball to go to the back of the green and then fall back down, and yes, it's going to have enough roll to get towards the pin there, but max backspin and a couple of bars side spin to the right, and then we're going to play with a 10% over adjustment, and in the end we need to be closer than that, but that's the game plan at least for hole number 3. So let's go with hole number 4, and no, it's not going to snow. This is an older recording of this hole, but it's going to still work well. We're going to play on the right hand side here. The reason we're gonna do that is because it's going to be too difficult for us to bounce over the rough and the bunker to get the perfect speed that we do want. It's very easy to clip the rough if you do have too little topspin. If you do have too much, you're gonna roll way past the pin as well. So we're using max left spin, and we're using 1 to 3 bars of backspin depending on how the wind angle is going to be. We're going to adjust for a 10% over adjustment, and the thing that we do forget to think about here is the crosswind that we're having, and the crosswind here is pushing us a little bit too much, and we do not kick back into the left as much as we wanted to. Speed wise, absolutely perfect, but we need to add a little bit more adjustment to our shot. This is going to be generally a tough par 3 to make an hole-in-one on from front tee due to the lower level ball guideline that we do have on our club, so it's going to be harder to set it up properly. So let's take a look at hole number 5, and first and foremost, we will not be having any snow when playing this one in the tournament, and I'm going to play on the left hand side many of the times. The reason being is because then we do have to just use a limited amount of overpower to be able to get into a position where we can use a long iron. Sure, we can play over to the right hand side, but then we're going to have to play with a wood club, as then going to be much tougher from that side. 10% over adjustment, going to use 3 bars of topspin, like 2 to 3 bars of topspin depending on the wind angle, and just get it over the rough in a nice way. You can hit great left, great right, and you will still have no problem getting it over there. Now for the second shot, you see that we do play with the navigator, and we don't really have the side spin enough to come in towards the pin, and therefore I will have to go with curl. So that's why I'm only suggesting, or like that's why I'm not suggesting a navigator for this hole, as I would like us to play with at least a quasar, so we do have at least side spin 2 to use. Because curl here from distance, sure, we're getting this one fairly close, but in the end curl is very hard to replicate and very hard to get good from that position. No elevation for the second shot, and I will have to say that this is going to be a tough par 4 in this tournament, especially if we do not have clubs where we can reach very far and then have a short iron for distance. And in the end that might be the case, but then we're gonna see that once that tournament wind is coming up. So for hole number 6 here, we're going to first and foremost start by playing up to the right. I want us to play with a ball that has side spin 2. The reason for that is that we otherwise need to go with curl if we do have a wind coming right to left, like if we do not have side spin 2. Sure, with this type of wind, a navigator is totally fine, and the only plan for us here is to get this ball over to the fairway. But once again, side spin 2 ball to just prevent us from having to use any curl if we do have a wind coming right to left. Because the thing that we do not want to be at is into the sand or into the rough on the left hand side, because then you will not be able to reach for the green in 2. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and the only thing that we do is to get ourselves down the fairway. That's at least the plan. So, once we are looking now at our opponent's shot, which is our opponent's second shot, is that we are going to play exactly the same way. The thing here to think about is if you do have a sniper level 4+, you play with the sniper. If you do not have a sniper level 4+, or like you say you have a sniper level 1, or maybe not a sniper at all, you play with the Viper. This because we do want to have a good accuracy, we do want to have a pretty decent ball guideline to be able to get this ball to the hole. And one thing that we do get with the sniper than we do get with the Viper is especially a very good ball guideline. Because you're gonna notice here now when I play with the Viper level 7 that it's very hard for me to read how much backspin or topspin I'm going to have on my club here to get the ball to the hole. So you can see here that I'm not using any topspin, any backspin, and then adding a teeny tiny bit of backspin in the end. But you're gonna also notice that it's going to be a little bit too little. The thing that we do want to do here is to play this one minus 20%, which means that this is a pretty massive uphill adjustment. And the reason we are playing uphill, it's because you're gonna notice when we press take shot button, you're gonna see how uphill we have, because we do have a hill there coming up, and that is what makes this shot becoming uphill. So minus 20%, we go for the rough bump, bounce into the rough and roll towards the pin. And you can notice here, we would at least be needing like a 3/4 of a backspin bar, or maybe 1 bar of backspin there. Decent chance for an albatross, I must say, but in the end, as always with rough bumps, it is a little bit tricky. So, let's take a look, and we're going to start with our opponent's shot first and foremost, and this is going to be a very elevated hole. Obviously, first and foremost, we will not be playing with a dark view. It's going to be bright, the sun is going to be out. This is an older recording. So, we're going to play with a 20% over adjustment here. So, this is going to be massively downhill, and we are going to try to stay away from getting our ball to the right-hand side, because the right-hand side does slope down pretty massively, and if we are too far to the right, we're gonna roll down into the rough, and that is definitely not something that we do want to do. I would like us to play with either a mauling ball or a basic ball, but I would say mauling ball would be good, because in the end then we get a little bit of side spin, so we can go left there with the side spin and prevent us from falling down to the right if we do have a pretty strong wind coming left to right. So, our turn, and we're going to use the Saturn here. I would suggest you to use the backbone due to its accuracy and a better ball guideline. Approximately somewhere between 2 to 4 bars of backspin. In this scenario, I'm using 3. And there you can see how bumpy this fairway is, because moving more right, the ball guideline going all wild, and that's the same obviously moving left. So I would try to, in this case, try to find a spot where the ball guideline seems to be pretty consistent. In my opinion, that would be a little bit more to the left. But in the end, we learn as we continue. The ball bounces there on the fairway, coming up towards the pin very nicely. And we should have been a little bit more to the left. We should have been using a little bit less backspin as well. So 2.5 bar backspin, moving our target a little bit more to the left would be better. So let's go with hole number 7. This is a course that we have only had one time in a tournament. Only one time. So, but it's a very easy one as well. First, we can decide to do 2 things. One, we can go with like a basic ball, a mauling ball, and just to try to get ourselves over the rough and then land for a short iron towards the pin. Don't do like I do, hit a very, very bad shot to the left and obviously, you know, get into the rough. If you hit a very bad shot and you go way to the left, you're gonna go out of bounds. Our opponent here, which is a good thing to have both of the shots here, our opponent is going to go full overpower, trying to get very close towards the pin. And the thing to think about here, if you're gonna try to go for green here, use a power 3, power 4, power 5 ball, so you do get more distance, because with a tailwind it is absolutely possible to get to green here. And obviously you're going to have to go with max overpower, and hitting great left as me and my opponent is doing is obviously not the best type of thing. You get to the fairway there, and then it's going to, in this case, roll down to the fairway, which was a little bit lucky. But from that range, we do have a very, very good spot towards the pin. Second shot for me, you can see even though I am in the rough, I will have no issue whatsoever to reach for the green in 2. And obviously, the bad part with getting into the rough like we did there is that we kind of destroy a very good chance for an eagle. Because in my opinion, this is going to be... like, if you get into the rough, you are going to have to be a bit disappointed, because it is a good eagle opportunity. Get this ball to green once we are in the rough, then we just going to have to take it for what it is. But if we are on fairway, we're going to approach it with a short iron, either the thorn or the hornet. In my opinion, if you feel comfortable with going for a dunk with the thorn, then that's going to be the better option in my opinion. Because now look at our opponent's position here. What a beautiful position to be able to play with a short iron. And when having this bumpy part on the start of the green, going to make the dunk here, in my opinion, be the best option. Sure, you can go with a backspin shot, but not having a fully developed ball guideline with a thorn is going to be a lot of guesswork. But if you do go for a dunk, you're definitely going to be more, what can I say, it's going to be a better position for you, and you're gonna know what's gonna happen more or less. So let's take a look at hole number 9, and here you will see an older recording for the Namhae clips, and this is going to be with a big topper. And the big topper is going to be used with a power 3 ball, and the reason we use a power 3 ball is because the big topper does not really have that much distance. And the plan here with tailwind is that we are always going to try to cross the water. So bounce on the first fairway, then over to the fairway on the other side. So stretch out, we adjust for a maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. Here I decide to go with a lot of overpower with the big topper, as we do have a lot of room on the fairway. And the thing that we do get to is that the ball is going to get down there, and the topspin is going to roll the ball down for us to have a short iron or a long iron towards the pin. If you do possess a lot of berserker balls, or like power 5 balls, you might have invested in some of those type of balls in like in-game purchases, then you can use them, and then you can actually in some lucky way reach green. We have seen plenty of people doing that in tournaments before, and that's gonna happen again. So minimum power 3 ball, otherwise a power 5 ball if you do have any. Let's say that we do have a straight crosswind, or we maybe have a headwind, then we cannot do the shot that I showed there. Then I would suggest for us to use like an extra mile, Thor's hammer, Apocalypse, so we do get a little bit more distance. And then we're going to just lay up on that fairway on the top there, and then have the second shot towards the pin. If we do lay up, and I'm gonna take that first, if we do lay up, we're going to use the elevation adjustment that is explained as 40% in the info box. That's the only reason we're gonna use 40%, because it's massively downhill. But if we do reach down to the fairway as we are now, we're going to play it only 10% over adjustment, as it's slightly downhill, but it's not as elevated as the shot would be if we would be lay up on the fairway island. We adjust, and then we're gonna take our shot, and obviously, you know, having this shot for an albatross is gonna be very, very good. And now we miss, we go a little bit short, but that's totally fine. In the end, an eagle will be locked in, but this is going to be a course where, or like a hole where an albatross is going to be highly likely if we do have a tailwind, where the eagle will be hard for many players if we do have a headwind. So thank you so much for watching this playthrough for Rookie Division for the community Cup. In the end, have in mind that some of the recordings are old because sometimes you can't find it in the game on the regular tour play, or that just to display a way of playing is going to be very valuable to have a slight older recording. Make sure that you comment in the comment section below if you do have any questions. New playthrough for Rookie with Tournament Win will be out as normal on Monday during tournament week. So, in the end, video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Thank you so much for watching and good luck in the Community Cup.